Good afternoon, fellow classmates. I'm Hugh J, supporting from BBC IM Channel 5. Many events have occurred already today, and we're going to talk about them. First of all, we're going to talk about the Great Depression and how its effects over the past few years affecting our social structure, our economy, and many other aspects of the United States and the rest of the world. We're going to Mr. Dover over in America for this part of the news broadcast.
Afternoon, Mr. Jace. As you said, with the Great Depression that people have been calling it, began after the stock market crash of October 1929, with millions of investors on Wall Street have been in panic and wiped out. It's reached its lowest point with 15 million Americans unemployed and nearly half the country's banking systems failing. On October 24th of 1929, nervous investors began selling overpriced shares en masse. This is known as a stock market crash.
Can I kiss my feet?
Today, we meet with a lone father who's lost all his children and his life, and is living only depressed and desperate to find shelter. Excuse me, sir, what's your name?
Hey, my dudes. My name is Jack Douglas.
How are you feeling, Jack?
Depressed, man. It's hard out here.
Why are you so depressed?
Because I lost my job, my family,
How is economic-wise going for you?
It's bad. I'm trying to get economic aid, but with that stock market crash, I got nothing, Who can help? Talk.
Well, it seems like you have a pretty decent shelter right here.
Yes, sir.
Let's see what we have here.
I got my trusty banana. My avocado. It's orange, man.
Does it talk?
It's good. It's good.
Unfortunately, we have ran out of time. Back to you, Mr. Jace.
Thank you, Mr. Dover, for that valid information. Sometimes people don't understand the economic struggles we go through in life, and this is very important that we get this event across to people that barely know what's going on in the world. Next up, we have the Cold War from Mr. Dixon.
During World War II, the US and the Soviet Union fought together against Axis powers. But post-war Soviet expansionism in Eastern Europe is fueling American fears of the Soviets' plan to control the world. With American officials' communist containment, many affiliated with communism lost their jobs and forced conformity within society. Soon after Japanese defeat Chinese and USSR created a relationship, but recently split. The US and the Soviet Union are working hard to reach military superiority. With this in mind, JFK's recent order to seize power in Cuba due to nuclear weapon threats, as Cuba was relying on the USSR for military and economic aid, and sold half their sugar production in exchange. It was soon discovered that the US had been keeping nuclear weapons in Turkey in case of Soviet Union nuclear weapons reaching America. On October 28th, the Russians agreed to remove their nuclear weapons from Cuba. Now, as we can see, as one of the USSR members. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. May I have a moment with you?
Yes.
What is your position on the USSR?
We are going to be dominant. We are going to be alpha. We are going to win this war so good, and our opponents are just going to go down. We are the alpha.
Okay, thank you, sir. As you can see, the USSR's propaganda systems are fueling Germans to believe that their country is the best. Coming live, back to you, Jace.
Alrighty, very different oppositions from these two events today. We're going to our halftime broadcast starring Mr. Wang in the weather.
Thank you, Mr. Jace. The development of fertilizers, chemicals, electricity, and public health have propelled the world to new heights and technological possibilities, but it has also changed the climate that we live in today. Nuclear power plants have contaminated the water in the ocean, killing many wildlife species. Desertification caused by farming fossil fuels have dried out lakes and rivers. Deforestation in the rainforest are killing many wildlife species as well. These are some of the ways that our human activity have changed our climate today. Today on this week's weather report, we see throughout the week that it is great weather, except on Monday, there is an overcast of rain and thunder. Tuesday, it clears up a bit because it's partly cloudy, as well as Wednesday and Thursday. However, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and Monday, it'll become sunnier and nice. In other news, there's massive signs of hurricanes forming around the southern tip of Africa, and large tsunamis that are flooding the Japan and Eastern Asian hemisphere. We have sent supplies out to help those in need there.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, sounds like we're going to have some beautiful weather for the next week. As many of you know, the conflict involving India, Great Britain, and India's own people has been getting worse. However, with new activists like Muhammad Gandhi taking action into leading the country into a new direction, it has been improving the world and India as we know it. We go to Mr. Lin with the interview right now.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am here with Mahatma Gandhi, one of the greatest leaders and activists in the world. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
I just have a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Okay. Why do you wear such simple clothes? White clothing, that is. Is there some sort of meaning behind it?
So when I started to work with the poor, so that I can help them, because I felt bad for them because they were mistreated and everything, like they were not treated fair, they were treated like they were nothing. So I decided to change my attire so that I could identify myself with them, so that I can actually feel like how I am in their shoes. So if I didn't change my attire from my Indian traditional Gujarat clothes to this white dhoti, I wouldn't have actually felt like I was actually helping them. So I was like decided to change my clothes so I could be in their shoes.
Okay. How did your journey help? How did your journey to help the poor and fight for India's civil rights movement start?
So I started my journey when I got a job as a lawyer in South Africa for a person because they needed a lawyer for their business. They told me to come move to Africa for like few months, have 6-7 months. I moved over there. So when I moved over there, I was started to develop my political ideas and values and views and ethics over there in South Africa, and which I brought from there to India.
Okay. What happened in Africa that made you develop your ideologies?
So when I moved to South Africa for the first time, it was a new country and I was never been there. So when I actually got there, I was mistreated very badly, just like how the poor are being treated right now. And that shocked me because like what is bad in us that is like causing white people to mistreat us. So they mistreated me because I was an Indian and I had brown skin. So yeah, they mistreated me. And one of the incidents was when I was traveling on a train from, I do not remember exactly where, but when I was traveling, I sat in the VIP area for the rides, and they told me to get off. And I said no, because I'm like, why should we move? Because we're brown? That makes no sense to me. So I did not move. So a white official came and they kicked me out of the train, like a moving train. And I was so shocked. I'm like, how can these people be called human? They are animals.
Okay, last question. When did you start to value your ideology of Satyagraha?
So I evolved the ideology of Satyagraha, which is the devotion to truth and non-violence protest, is when there was a mass protest on 9/11 in 1906. I developed an ideology of Satyagraha, non-violence, and I was influenced to come up with this ideology when this person, Leo Tolstoy, he wrote a letter to me, and he had a Tamil text written down on it, and it was about non-violence and how it is actually the real way to fight. So I thought about it, and then I'm like, yeah, for violence is not a good thing. It just hurts people, and we're no different than the animals that the whites are. So I decided to persuade my people and teach them the ideology of Satyagraha and use non-violent protest by just protesting without actually beating anyone, and therefore I persuaded them, and right now we are able to free India from the rule of Britain.
Okay, unfortunately that's all we have for today. Thank you, Mr. Gandhi, for this great interview, and back to the studio with Mr. Jace.
Well, there you have it for today. From the effects of the Great Depression to how a single voice could change the direction a whole country is going. This is Hugh Jace reporting from BBC IM Channel 5. Wait, what? The World Trade Center has been hit? It's been hit? Oh my gosh. We go to Mr. Chang live right now.
BBC News, IM Channel 5. We've gotten reports of a plane crashing into the World Trade Center. Unfortunately, we do not have a camera, but we do have a pictorial representation of what we think happened.
As you can see, civilians on fire. You see the yellow marks are fire, and then the bubbles talking about what they've done in life, you know. And then as you zoom in on the World Trade Center, also on fire. The plane on fire. Clouds not on fire because the clouds, very realistic by the way. And the other buildings in the back, beautifully detailed. And the sun perfectly being just like the fire, because same color. And yeah, as you can see, civilians are not doing so good. We'll get back to you on what will happen to them tomorrow.
And hopefully we will find our camera. But until next time, this is BBC News signing out. This is BBC News. Oh shit.
Started to work with the poor, so that.
Alan! I just hear you squeal in the background.
I need to get out of here, bro.
What the fuck?
Well, there you have it for today. From the effects of the Great... I almost said the Great Britain. Okay. Well, there you have it for today. From the effects of...
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there you have it for today. From the effects of the Great Depression to the impact of one voice can make to a whole country.
There's an activist in the world, Mahatma Gandhi. Afternoon, Mr. Gandhi.
Good afternoon.
I just have a few questions for you, if you don't mind.
No problem.
Why do you wear...
When the first said, no problem. What the fuck is that?
It was laughing. Good afternoon, Mr. Gandhi.
Good afternoon, sir.
You gotta stop laughing, bro.
I'm sorry. He's so
Because
real.
you're right there.
Going. This is Hugh Jace reporting from BBCIM Channel 5. Wait, what? The World Trade Center has been hit? Oh my god. We go to... Who do we go to?
Oh, I thought he was gonna walk in. He's not gonna walk in yet?
Just say.
I thought he was gonna walk in, then it'll be partly cloudy, and on Monday, Thursday, I said Monday instead of Wednesday. This is hard, man. I can't say the dates. There's an overcast or rain. You're just dying laughing. Cause like the camera's right here, and I just see you in the background doing this. I fucking can't. You're so bad. What does it look like? Is there some sort of meaning behind it?
Actually, so when I started to work with the pool,
This is great. I love how he's not saying anything. This is amazing.